Um, this exact problem was on a practice test back when we did statistics. This is a histogram, and they want us to just see which histogram represents these scores. So the first interval, the first bar in the bar graph is from 5 to 6. The second one is from 7 to 9. Sorry, 7 to 8. Then 9 and 10. Then 11 and 12. Then 13 and 14. So I would just start going by So let's see how many fives and sixes there are. Uh, Here's the six. Stop writing. So there's a six. There's no fives. So A has one five. So I can get rid of B. There's, that's too many fives and sixes, and I can get rid of C. So it's between A and D. So let's move on to the next one. Sevens and eights. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's six. This one here doesn't have six, sevens, and eights. So it would be then did I miss one? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh no, okay. Wait, there was six, but why does this have seven? Did I skip one? Let's look at the rest of them. That's weird. This one's going up to seven. None of them are going up to six. And let's see the next one. Nines and tens. One, two, three. So I'm only seeing three there. There's not even 18s here. Did I? Oh man, I might have messed up. 20 of your classmates were asked to keep track of the number of hours, because this thing doesn't even go up to 18. Which histogram best represents the data? They have an 18 here, but that's not even accounted for. Okay, well, see, this one did have. Ah, I know what it was. I know what it was. I went back after the fact and I forgot to do it on this one. This one here should have read 8. That's why. There was a typo that I didn't correct on this one. Because if that one, see, this doesn't go all the way to 18. So if that says 8, now that makes it 7s and 8s. Then I have 3 9s and 10s. Now let's check the 11s and the 12s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that one also has 7, 11s, and 12s, and then there should be 2 13s and 14s, which there are right here, 13 and 14. That's my fault, but at the same time, nobody mentioned that when they were taking it. So that was a typo. This one here should have said 8. There. And then that makes the answer D. Worst case, you can always do it. Okay, two-way table. What percentage of the students with a math average greater than or equal to 9 do not speak? Okay, so this is conditional relative frequency. We're stating a condition. We're only looking at what percentage of the students with a math average greater than or equal to 90. So greater than or equal to 90, if I add those up in the margins, I get 85. So out of those, how many do not speak a foreign language? That would be 15 out of 85. Who's got a calculator? divided by 85. 0.8.18. Caleb, you alright? You sad? For an experiment on evaporation, Ginny filled a water tank. She then measured the level of the water several times to see how much had evaporated. The table below shows the number of centimeters below the top of the water. The table below shows the number of centimeters below the top the water was um, at each given number of days, where X represents. So she filled the water tank and then she's trying to see how much it evaporates. What is the slope of the so look at that. Doesn't even matter. I didn't even have to read all that. They want to know what's the slope. Now that's implying that it's linear. Um, I guess maybe we should check to make sure it's linear, but this is implying it's linear, so you should be able to get any 2 points. Um, so like if you do the first one, there that would be negative 13 plus 25 over 3 minus 5, which that's 12 over negative 2, and that gives you negative 6. If I were to do the next two, that would be what there my x's are only going up by 1, so negative 31 over 5 minus 6. It's going to be 6 over negative 1, which is also negative 6. The next two, which are negative 31 plus 49 over 6 minus 3, is 18 over negative 3, which is also, yeah, these are all giving you negative 6. So it looks like that would have been the answer. On the Google form, that's the only thing you type in. The recursive formula of an arithmetic sequence is described below, which represents the explicit equation of this arithmetic sequence. So, in order to write the explicit definition, or in this case, they're using the word equation, some amount is equal to the first amount plus the common difference times n minus 1. So I just need to know where to plug in. I'm going to leave a sub n, because that's what I'm looking for. Where do I find the first amount in the recursive definition? Which one of those numbers represents the first amount? The 19. So a sub n is equal to the 19. What's the common difference? And then all you gotta do is simplify the right side. Distribute, combine like terms. 6n plus 13. These are only the ones missed the most. I think all of these were missed by, they were all missed like 58% of the time or more. So all of these were more than half of you missed these. Yes, sir. Yeah, isn't there a pass there that I left from this morning? It's there. Remember my sixth. I haven't seen sixth grade yet, so I left them. So I'm just using that paper pass. You're gonna leave your phone, or you just gonna have a phone? Which of the following equations represents a parabola that reaches its maximum value? Okay, so maximum is a key word there, which means the parabola needs to be facing down. So it can't be any of these. Those are upward facing parabolas. And then so out of the two left over, which one has a max at 513? But for the H, you got to change the sign, and then there's K. A calculator screenshot of the function is graphed below. What change would be seen if f of x plus 4 were graphed? They don't even need to give you a picture. If the plus 4 is outside of the parentheses, where are we translating? 4 in which direction? And we went over one just like this, right? On Thursday before we took this one, when we were going over everything on Thursday, we went. I probably got it from the same group of problems. Might have even been the same one. Some of these are gonna overlap sometimes. We'll see. Uh, this function is transform. What type of transformation has a 1/3 being multiplied out in front? Compression. They call it a string. The fourth grade class at Wilshire Elementary School held a competition to raise money for a class field trip. In the competition, the class was split into 2 teams, and each student tried to collect as many pennies as possible. At the end of the competition, the team with a greater average, that's a key word there, number of pennies per student wins. The 8 students on team 1 had collected, that many pennies. The 9 students, so these are also key because it has to do with the average. 8 students and 9 students collected that amount of pennies. Which team won? So you just gotta find the average one of each. So the first one would be somebody with a calculator help out. 195 plus 87 plus 62 plus 271 plus 103 plus 149 plus 51 plus 70. We're only dividing by 8. On the second one, we got 46, 429, 101, 72, 33, 100, 64, 58, 125, and then we're dividing by 9. Or T, since you have the calculator, would you be honest? What is the first? What's team 1 come out to on average? He says 123.5. Well, how about team 114 point? Okay, so which one has the better average? A record store owner kept track of his sales over the course of one day. He categorized the sales based on whether the sale was a CD or a record, and whether the sales of jazz, classical, and blues records. And he recorded the sales of jazz, classical, and blues records. He recorded the conditional frequencies. Okay, so when they're saying frequencies, well, I guess never mind. 'Cause I thought they had said the percentages, but when just by using the word frequency, like they might still give you like the number amounts, how many of each CDs, but you can tell by the total here, since we're adding up to a total of 1, that these are percentages. They're already giving you percentages. So based on these conditional frequencies, which of the following is most likely true? If there were 100 sales in one day, 5 of those would be for blue CDs. Okay, so if there were 100 sales, that would mean that each sale would be like a percent, because we add it to 100%. How many blue CDs were sold? How many blue CDs were sold? Huh? Would be blue CDs. Yeah, there would be blues were CDs. That's 13. So that doesn't seem to be correct. If there were a total of 100 sales in a day, which means that's nice, easy mental math. You don't have to use a calculator to multiply. You You can just look at the percent. 28 would be Jazz Records. Okay, so a record for Jazz, that's coming out at 28. And that does say 28, so far that's got the lead. Unless we come out with another one that's identical, like that one should be the answer. If there were a total of 100 sales in one day, 62 would be CDs. So let's see, 100 CDs. Now, if we look at the total CDs, CDs would be 38. Can't be that. And then if there were 100 sales in one day, 20 would be classical records. So records, classical, no, that's not 20. That counts as 2. So yeah, the one it had to be was B. Jada, questions for you? How about Kiara? You think Kiara has questions? What you doing, Kiara? Is that for your cuticles? No, stress ball? I think we had this exact same one. Didn't I give you the answer to this one the day before? Yeah, because sometimes these things overlap a bit, and it was still ended up on the most incorrect. So here's f of x. Like what transformation led from this to be this? Look at the asymptote. If the asymptote didn't change, it looks like a flip, but without any type of a translation. I guess theoretically there could be a stretch, but the only ones here that have a flip are these two, A and B. Now the difference is B has a negative on the inside too. So what that would do, like that's the one we haven't gone over, but when the x is negative, it flips it over the y-axis. So what would happen is if this original growth were both, not only flip up and down, which makes it look like this, but also on top of that, flip left and right, then that's how it would end up looking. Take that shape. But that's not the way it looks. It's only an x-axis reflection. So, okay. The minus has to be in front of the function. Whole Loaf Bakery sells bread only by the whole loaf. The following linear model represents the daily profit or loss as a function of the number of loaves of bread sold at the Whole Loaf Bakery. Which statement and corresponding interpretation is not true? So let's see. Represents the daily profit or loss. So Y is going to be for profit, and then if you end up with a negative, that means it's a loss. So Y is profit or loss, and it's as a function of the number of loaves of bread. X is number of loaves of bread sold. So which one of this is not true? The y-intercept of the linear model is negative 120. So it costs $120 to operate Whole Loaf Bakery each day. That's possible, right? Because this is a daily profit. And profit is the way you calculate profit, it's equal to your revenue, whatever you bring in, minus your expenses. So that's definitely a possibility. The reason why that's negative 120 is because it costs you 120 days to. Oh wait, not true. We're looking for what's not true. So far A looks true. B, the slope of the linear model is 3, which means that the Whole Loaf Bakery sells loaves of bread for $3 each. The way you make money is how much are you selling each loaf of bread times the number of loaves of bread sold. So that appears to be correct. The x-intercept of the linear model is 40. Whole Loaf Bakery must sell 40 loaves of bread each day to recover its operating expense. So if you were to make $0, if you were to have zero, that the x-intercept is 1, y is 0. So if you were not to make money or lose money at the break-even point, yeah, what they're saying is x would have to be 40 because 30 times 40 is 120. And that appears to be true. That would be the break-even point. That's just to make up, to recover the daily operating expense. So let's see the last one, D. The domain of the linear model is x is between 0 and infinity. Whole Loaf Bakery may sell any real non-negative number of loaves um, of bread in a given day. Yeah, this is the key here. Obviously, you can't sell negative number of loaves, but let's focus on this word, real. I get, could you go into a bread store and say, oh, here, look, I don't want to eat that entire loaf. Can you just sell me half of it? Maybe. I mean, yeah, maybe they do slices and stuff, but nothing that was given to us in the information would tell us. Huh? It says it has to be whole loaves. Well, it just says that that's the name of the bakery. No, it says. Oh, yes. Okay, no, you're right. You're right. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Look at that. Yes, you are right. They only sell it by the whole loaf. So it would not be any real number because real numbers include fractions, it includes decimals. So here we go. What would be a better word to use instead of real? Huh? Okay, you could have put whole number, but they probably wouldn't by saying non-negative. That's already to be redundant. A whole number cannot be negative. But there's another word. If you were, especially if you were going to include non-negative, there's a group of numbers that if you exclude the negatives, what's left over is basically whole numbers. You know what those are? Starts with in, ends with Tajers. You would have got some Cheetos. Yeah, integers would have been a better word there. That would have made it true. That's the only one that's not true. A patient takes 10 milligrams of medication that has a half-life. At the end of each half-life, the amount of medication that is left in the body is half of the amount that was left at the end of the previous half-life. Let X represent the number of half-lives since the medication was taken. So X is the number of half-lives. Let F of X represent the amount of. Okay, so this one you don't have to get too, especially because it's multiple choice. We did an entire day of half-life, like we did an entire lesson on half-lives. What type of a model is a half-life? It's a decay, yeah, because the growth factor is 1/2. So the only one here that looks like a decay is either A. Actually, no, take it back. No, sorry, A is a growth. So look at it. There's only one that it could be. So which of the following could be the model? The only one here that's showing the decay is C. A and C are the only ones that are exponential, but A is a growth. A is an exponential growth. Okay, we saw this one last week also. Which runner wins the race? This was an interesting one. This one took me a little bit to figure out myself too. Because you look at this table here and you're like, what are you talking about? Look, hey, at the end of the race, they're both at the same, but you gotta look over here. It's a 400-meter race. The table doesn't tell you what's happening, how long each one took to run 400 meters, but the graph does. If this is 400 meters and this is a measurement of time, who gets to that 400-meter mark first in less time? It took A maybe like, I don't know, 37 seconds, 38 seconds, whereas it took runner B 50 seconds. Average rate of change. Okay. So with average rate of change, the slope. They're giving you the x's. You need the y's. Yeah. Now these are really small numbers here. I would probably tell you just to plug in instead of doing it. It could be done synthetically, but if you're gonna do it synthetically, you have to take into account that there's no b. B would have to be 0. So your a, b, c would be 1, 0, and 2 if you were to do synthetic. But I would just plug in. What's negative 2 squared? Plus 2 is 6. What's negative 1 squared? 1 plus 2 is 3. And now you can just do slope formula. 6 minus 3 over negative 2 plus 1, which is 3 over negative 1, which is 3 more. Find the common difference of an arithmetic sequence. I'm sure there's more than one way to do this. And I feel like we've done this before. Because I remember kind of you guys getting, it might have been as part of the EOC review. I remember you guys seeing one of this and getting stuck. But the way I would do, what's another word for common difference in an arithmetic sequence? Slope. This is the slope problem. If the 11th number is 91, that's like saying, hey, that point is part of the line. If the 30th number is 231, that's another point in the line. So now just do slope. There might, I mean, I know that there are different ways of doing this. I just don't know if there's an easier way. 90 minus 231 over 11 minus 30. Negative 140. Is that correct? Over negative 19. That's divide evenly? Huh? No, it doesn't divide evenly. What did I have as the answer there? I have it at 7, but that's not correct. The 11th number. Yeah, maybe that was a typo. But that should have been that should have been a 31 then. If that would have been a 31, then yeah, then that would be the case. Or this could have been a 10. I had the answer as 7, but that's wrong. I'll fix it for the curve anyways. Um, Maybe I'll even just take them off the retake. Then it if that gets fixed and this is a 20, and then 140 divided by 20 is 7. I'll probably just take these off the retake. Find the third term of this sequence. So they give you the first one, and they give you the explicit definition. Find the third term of the sequence. So you don't even need to know what the first number is. You should be able to just plug in a 3. Yeah. So a sub 3 is equal to 5 times 3 minus 14, which is 15 minus 14. Finally, even, odd, or neither. We went over these recently. The way you check is to plug in a negative x for x. If I do that, I get negative 5x plus 3. Are all the terms the same? Does this look exactly like this? No. But are all the terms different signs? If they looked exactly the same, it will be even, but that's not the case. If they all had different signs, it would be odd, but that's not the case because only the 5x changed sign. So this one actually would be even. Any questions for me? If you're going to do the retake, I'll just take the typo ones off.